But again, he said here, it doesn't just represent the greatest country in the world. Here's the problem. The left don't think this is the greatest country in the world. They think, again, this is a country of oppression, colonization, imperialism, all these things. This is what they think that flag represents, which is why they don't want to stand for the flag, which is why they want to kneel for the flag. This is why they turn their backs on the flag. All these things, they don't believe in this stuff, which is why they want to redesign it. Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Before we get into our story today, please take a moment right now to hit that like and subscribe button. It really does help support the channel, and it also allows us to grow here at the Bald Brad Show, so your help would be greatly appreciated. Our story of the day is about the US Olympic Committee wanting to redesign the American flag. Yes, folks, you heard me correctly, and if you're saying, well, what the F? That's exactly how I was feeling when I heard about this story. This comes from our friends over at the Daily Wire. If you're not already a member, please go over and become one today. It is written by Joe Morgan, and he titles it, Sean Hannity Sounds Off on the US Olympic Committee's Proposal to Redesign American Flag on its Logo. It starts off here saying Fox News host Sean Hannity is not pleased, and rightfully so, with the United States Olympic Committee after reporting that they are in the early stages of a plan to redesign the American flag on its logo, replacing the 50 stars with 5 new stars, as well as altering the stripes. Hannity reported on this on June 6. U.S. Olympians and Paralympic associations were asked to fill out an online survey by the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee in which proposed change to the stars and stripes in USOPC materials was an item. Quote, the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic have actually been considering a redesign of the American flag for all of their official documents and promotional materials, Hannity said on Monday. If they approve this design, that would strip the U.S. flag or the flag of at least most of the stars and stripes. Well, isn't that just lovely? Fox News reached out to Kate Hartman, who is a spokesperson for the Olympic Committee, and this is what she had to say. We are in the very early stages of potentially exploring new brand executions for the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee. Now look, nobody has a problem with you exploring new brand executions or new brand options. What people are going to have a problem with is you altering and changing the American flag, the very thing that represents this great nation. She goes on to say this. It is common practice in creative development to share a variety of concepts with stakeholders to elicit reaction and feedback that will then be used to determine next concepts. And she's not wrong by saying that. What has been sent to you is just one of dozens of ideas shared in the brainstorming and surveying process. My thing is, whose idea was this in the first place? Who was sitting on the Olympic Committee at that round table going, you know what I think would be a great idea? I think we should redesign the American flag. I guarantee you it has to be a leftist or somebody that's far left of the Democratic Party that came up with this idea. Because no conservative would think that this is a good idea. No somebody that's a centrist would think this is a good idea. No Republican would think this is a good idea. I'm sure the vast majority of Americans wouldn't think this is a good idea. So this would just, it's a theory, right? But it would have to be a freaking radical leftist that would come up with this idea. And the only thing that makes sense to me is they want to redesign the American flag for the Olympic Committee is because they think that flag represents oppression, right? We saw the athlete that turned her back to the American flag while that stars and stripes were freaking waving in the wind during that Olympic thing. I forgot what her name was, the African-American woman, it's slipping my mind. But regardless, is that these athletes are now activists going out there and they think that the flag represents oppression. They think the flag represents colonization. They think the flag represents systemic racism. They think the flag represents all these negative aspects of this country, and so they don't want to represent that type of flag hanging, that type of banner hanging. So what do they want to do? They want to change it here. Well, it goes on to say this: our stars and stripes should be the only flag representing our country at the Olympics and Paralympics. There are so many amazing athletes and champions we are all so proud of. Well, Hannity said this is a bad idea. Hannity said, here's my message. Stop wasting your team's time and money with redesign of the American flag. It's an awful idea, and rightfully so. Well, after Hannity reported on this, which I'm sure there was a lot of backlash, the USOPC put out a statement saying that they had no intention of changing the American flag that flies above the podium at the Olympics, right? So now they're going to redesign the flag. There's going to be one flag that represents one thing and another flag that represents a whole nother thing, okay? Is anybody else seeing the problem that's going on here? Is one represents America, well, what the hell the other one going to represent? Because I'm sure in hell ain't going to represent the American flag. You know, the one that's draped over caskets when men go die and give up the ultimate sacrifice for this country? That's the one they want to change. We want to be clear that we love our country and respect the American flag. We do not have any intention, not to mention the authority, to change our country's flag that flies above the podium when a member of Team USA achieves Olympic or Paralympic greatness. No, they don't have the authority to do that. Congress does. But here's my theory on it all, folks, is the left is constantly trying to rebrand America, right? We see that through history all the time. Case in point, the revisionist historians that are out there on the left that are trying to teach our children, indoctrinate our children that certain aspects of history were one way when in reality they were another way, right? We see that with critical race theory. We see that with the 1619 Project, things like that. Well, this is just a start of rebranding America. This is the start of how you change the symbols that represent this great nation, is starting something small with like this that represents our nation at the Olympics by changing and redesigning our American flag and going, oh, well, you know, it's going to be hanging above the podium still. Don't you see? It's hanging above a podium, but what the athletes are going to wear, what our promotional materials are going to say and show, well, it's not going to be that one because we don't like that flag. We don't think that flag represents our beliefs and our systems that are in this country, and we want to change it from the bottom up. And this is how you do it, folks. You start with something small, and then when Congress catches on, all the lefties, right, like Bernie Sanders, AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, all these people in Congress, when they see this stuff, they're gonna go, oh, well, you know what? You know, that's not a bad idea. Who thought of that? That's not a bad. How did I not think of that? And you got Kamala Harris going, how did I not think of that? Holy crap. What a great idea. Whose idea was that? And then what they're going to do is if you get control, then they're going to pass that in Congress, and then you got a snowball effect here. And this is how it starts, folks. Now, that's just a theory. I could be wrong, and I hope I am wrong. But you never know. Leftists are always trying to change this country, this great nation. And look, there are things we need to change about this country to make it greater. There's nothing wrong with that. I think there's a flaw in the whole idea of what a conservative is. Look, we're there to conserve traditional ideas, yes, but the traditional ideas that we want to conserve are the good ones and get rid of the bad ones, folks. It's not like we aren't progressive within ourselves of trying to change and make this country a better place for all Americans. It says here, former Olympian athletes seem to agree with Hannity. Okay, with Olympic swimming medalists Gary Hall Sr. and Gary Hall Jr. joining Hannity on Tuesday in order to express their disapproval for the changes. Now, these are just two athletes among many. I'm sure there's Olympic athletes that don't have a problem with it, but I would like to think, and again, this is a bias, but I could be wrong. I would like to think a lot of Olympic athletes want the flag to remain the same, as well as a lot of Americans. I'll have to find a study on that if it's out there. If one of you find a study about the flag, go ahead and send it to me in the comments. As you know, I read all of them and I comment back. It says here, the greatest honor of my life was in Montreal in 1976 when I was selected to carry the American flag for the U.S. Olympic team leading into Montreal Stadium, Hall Sr. said. And the American flag is iconic. It doesn't just represent the greatest country in the world. It represents and symbolizes millions of Americans who have worked hard, who have sacrificed, some of them with their own lives, and rightfully so. But again, he said here, it doesn't just represent the greatest country in the world. Here's the problem. The left don't think this is the greatest country in the world. They think, again, this is a country of oppression, colonization, imperialism, all these things. This is what they think that flag represents, which is why they don't want to stand for the flag, which is why they want to kneel for the flag. This is why they turn their backs on the flag. All these things, they don't believe in this stuff, which is why they want to redesign it. They want to create a flag that represents them and their beliefs. They don't want to represent freedom. They don't want to represent capitalism. They don't want to represent free market. They don't want to represent all these great things that this nation has done, not just for Americans, but also for the world. They don't like any of that. No one has the right to change other than U.S. Congress. To me, it's disrespectful to even consider changing the American flag, Hall Sr. continued. Old Glory does not need rebranding, Hall Jr. said, and rightfully so. So you have these two medalists, you have Sean Hannity, and I'm sure a heck of a ton of Americans don't want to see this change. And by the way, nobody asked for it. Nobody was sitting there going, hey, you know, we need to change this from C to shining C. Nobody asked for this rebranding, and it should piss all of you off. Again, that flag has been flown for a long time and represents freedom, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that all men are created equal. These are just a few, folks, of what this flag represents and all the great things this nation represents. And you have the left here. I guarantee you it has to be a leftist. If it's a conservative, I'll be pissed. I'll be upset. But this is what they're trying to do through the US Olympic Committee, is redesign the American flag for all nations to see as well. We're being torn from the inside out, folks. We're being destroyed from the inside out. And I wanted to keep you up to date on what is going on. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you a little bit later today here on The Bald Brad Show.